this week's bulletin, smoking research shows plain packaging works. Mosul's last Christians flee for their lives. And island evangelism in full swing.
This is In Focus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hi, it's great to have you with us for a very special Record in Focus program today. I'm Kent Kingston, and at the news desk is your co-host Danielle Sinnott.
Thank you, Kent. It is indeed. And thanks for having us at your place. Now, Ken, I think I know why you're so excited today. We've got Dr. Ben Carson on the show.
That's right. Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Now, you know, you've read the book, I've read the book, maybe you've read the book, Gifted Hands. Maybe you've seen the movie with Cuba Gooding Jr. Well, today you get to meet the man himself.
That's right, and a man, Kent, that a lot of people are saying is going to be the next US president.
Well, who knows?
Are you asking him about that?
I will be. I'll definitely be asking him about that, you can be sure. It's a bit of a famous doctor episode today, though. We've also got Dr. James Wright coming in for a chat. You'll be chatting to him a bit later.
I will.
But not before the news, I guess.
That's right, Kent. Let's get into it. The number of Australians with a daily cigarette habit has dropped significantly over a 3-year period. A number of health experts are giving credit to the nation's plain packaging laws. According to the Sydney Morning Herald, the daily smoking rate for adults reduced from 15% to less than 13% from 2010 to 2013. The trend against smoking is particularly apparent amongst young people, with 95% of the 12 to 17-year-olds surveyed saying they'd never smoked. The research comes at a crucial time for other countries that are looking to follow Australia's example and introduce plain packaging laws as well. The Seventh-day Adventist Church pioneered community stop smoking campaigns in the 1950s and continues to take a strong stand against tobacco use. The Breathe Free program has recently been refreshed and updated with a version 2.0 launched at a recent health conference in Geneva.
The Breathe Free 2 material is now readily available online at Breathe Free 2 website. You can download it. Great for community groups or for individuals. Any church, any denomination is welcome to use this material and make a difference in the community.
It seems that practically all of the few remaining Christians in Iraq's second largest city, Mosul, have fled after threats and ultimatums from the so-called Islamic State rebel terror group. According to the Assyrian International News Agency, about 200 Christian families were among the members of religious minorities who left Mosul before a deadline expired that required them to either convert, pay an unspecified tax on Christians, or face execution. A large number of those who fled faced roadblocks on their way out of the city, where they had vehicles and other possessions taken by rebel fighters. Assist News Service reports the insurgents have replaced the cross on the Syriac Orthodox Cathedral with their own flag, smashed an image of the Virgin Mary, and destroyed a tomb believed to contain the bones of Jonah, the prophet of Nineveh. The number of civilian deaths in Iraq so far this year has exceeded 5,500. Christians in other parts of Iraq are also under pressure, but thanks to a generous donation from Australia, many believers in the capital Baghdad will receive comfort from God's word. According to Assist News Service, the donation has allowed 3,000 solar-powered audio players called Navigators to be delivered to Iraq. The devices are preloaded with the Bible in Arabic and sermons by Egyptian-born Dr. Michael Youssef, who heads up the Leading the Way media ministry. Leading the Way is partnering with the Anglican Vicar of Baghdad, UK citizen Canon Andrew White, who, despite the violence and his own multiple sclerosis, has stayed on in Iraq since 2005. End of financial year appeals by Christian radio stations around Australia have netted $3.9 million from generous listeners. According to a report by Christian Media, both capital city and regional radio stations broke records during Radiothon events.
Now, Christine, we are so close to that $300,000 mark, and we've heard from so many people today. And the latest person to join us is Janine from Bertram.
Janine, you have gotten us to $300,000!
Many listeners paid tribute to the positive difference Christian radio has made to their lives. Christian radio stations in Australia are typically run under not-for-profit community broadcasting arrangements and need donations to stay on the air. New numbers released by Avondale College show that students are having an impact on Australian churches even before they've graduated. An increasing focus on practical ministry for pastors in training has seen students allocated to local congregations and participating in evangelistic events both at home and overseas. Over the last 2 years, Avondale's ministry and theology students have preached 1,400 sermons and led more than 1,800 Bible studies. They've contributed to 300 evangelistic meetings and played a part during overseas outreach events in helping more than 1,000 people make a decision for Jesus and baptism. The evangelistic spirit is also alive and well in the South Pacific, with local Adventists making a concerted push in French-speaking territories. The capital of Tahiti, Fa'a, was the focus of public meetings held simultaneously in a number of venues across the city: churches, schools, sports venues and private homes. The events were a local expression of the Adventist Church's global Mission to the Cities initiative. And in New Caledonia, young people and literature evangelists are preparing the ground for an upcoming campaign undertaking community service projects and building relationships. Working in a culturally sensitive way has also meant gaining the permission of 12 local chiefs to operate in their area. After years of heartbreaking stories coming out of Nigeria detailing the deaths and persecution of Christians by terror groups like Boko Haram, a musical collaboration is giving voice to the suffering.
Open our eyes, open our ears to hear the cry for peace.
The song No More Sorrow is part of a campaign to encourage the Nigerian government to do more to protect Christians from extremist violence. Money raised from the sale of the song on iTunes will go to Release International to help their work of supporting persecuted Christians in Nigeria. Well, it's a little shorter than usual, but that's the news for this week. Kent.
Thanks, Danielle. You'll be back with us after the break, is that right?
Yeah, certainly will, Kent. Stay with us. We've got Dr. James Wright in the studio today for Health in Focus, and after that, Ben Carson.
Oh, can't wait. We'll be right back.
Signs of the Times, a magazine for a world on the brink. And this month in Signs, who is God, Father, Son, or the Holy Spirit? How a plant-based diet can help you lose weight. 2014 Australian of the Year Adam Goods on his fight against racism. Strategies to help you and your partner grow together spiritually. All in this month's Signs of the Times. Subscribe to Signs today and change your life.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. That's just part of what makes it all so amazing. And that's why a great education matters. Because it doesn't just help you get a great job. It helps you prepare for what life can throw at you and live a great life. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Welcome back. Well, we've got Doc Wright here in the studio. How you going, Doc?
Oh, hello, Danielle, and hi there, everybody. Great being with you again. I miss you when I'm not with you. I just miss it. I've been back. Here we are.
Well, we miss you too, Doc.
I'm here.
Now, this year is a significant year in the medical world for doctors and patients alike. Tell us a bit more about that.
Absolutely. Now, would you believe it, the official doctor's journal in Australia is called the Medical Journal of Australia. And this year, they're celebrating their 100th anniversary, which You know, we're only 200 years old, aren't we, in Australia? It's been going for 100 years every week. And that's the doctor's Bible in Australia. That's where we get all our new information from, and we keep up to date with what we tell our patients. That's what the thing's for.
That's right. It's been one of your favourites for a long time.
Oh, absolutely. Now, they did a survey to find out over those 100 years what the most significant article was ever published. Now, that was quite a job to do that.
Yeah.
And would you believe it, they discovered on page 22, they discovered that the most frequently referred to and frequently sought after article was one written by a Perth doctor, Professor Barry Marshall, in 1984. When this doctor, we've talked about him before on the show, this guy discovered that 80% of the population contain, or the stomach of those people contains a little germ called a Helicobacter pylori. He discovered that. It was published in Lancet magazine in 1984.
Now, is that the bacteria that causes stomach ulcers, Doc?
Absolutely. Yep. Doctors thought it was stress and too much alcohol and all this sort of stuff. Yep. But he discovered this germ in the stomach, where there was acid present, would gradually bore a hole in some people, not many, but some people, and unless it was treated, became a full-blown ulcer, very painful, and if left, turned into stomach cancer, which, if you're in your 40s, the commonest age, was lethal. They just died from stomach cancer unnecessarily. And this guy, that's the most significant article they find in 100 years of publishing articles. An Australian now discovered this germ, and also we discovered the treatment called PIP, proton pump inhibitors, which are now prescribed worldwide. They laughed at him for 10 years before they really realised he was onto the truth, and these are used now worldwide, millions of them. And he was awarded the Nobel Prize a few years ago for that. So Australia has at least one big, huge discovery.
That's very significant, Doc. And so what's your take-home message with that today?
The take-home message is, if you get dyspepsia, and I suppose most will get that at some stage, don't put up with it, because it could be too much acid, which in due course with the germ could cause an ulcer and cancer. So with heartburn, please see a doctor. How's that sound?
Yep, sounds good to me, Doc. It's not a pleasant thing to have, the old heartburn.
Go on, everybody. See you next time, and have a great time between now and then. Love you all.
Thanks. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
The media targets our goals with destructive messages. But is there an alternative? Yes, it's Gigi. Gigi is a great new magazine for teenage girls that uplifts good Christian values. Finally, a way to pass on our values in a way the teenage girls in our life will love. So give a subscription to a teenage girl you love today. Visit gigimagazine.com.au. That's gigimagazine.com.au.
Neurosurgeon Dr. Ben Carson shot to prominence in the 1980s for his innovation and success, performing radical surgeries on children with severe difficulties. But it was his autobiography, Gifted Hands, that inspired millions. A story of a mother's devotion, hard work and divine intervention. But last year, Ben Carson surprised many when at the 2013 National Prayer Breakfast in Washington, D.C., he made some pointed political comments that sharply divided opinion. Some said it was inappropriate to get political at that venue. Others said, this guy should be president. And it's an honour to have you with us today, Dr. Ben Carson.
Nice to be here.
So should we start with you announcing to the world that you will be running for nomination for 2016 presidential election?
Well, we should start by saying I will continue to work very hard to wake people up and help them to understand what's going on in the United States and in the world.
Okay. Well, so what issues are you passionate about waking people up?
I want people to recognize that they should be able to say what they believe and not be intimidated by the thought police.
Sure.
I want people to understand fiscal responsibility. You can't spend what you don't have, and it's robbing from the next generations when you do that, which is extremely unfair. I want us to get back to our Judeo-Christian foundation. because that's where your morals and values come from. If you don't have that, you create your own morals and values, and that doesn't seem to be leading us in the right direction.
Okay.
I want people to have a sense of what it means to be a leader in the world. Not just somebody who reacts to what's going on, but who actually understands the geopolitical scene and knows how to plan ahead to be able to help both your friends and your enemies know what's going on.
Okay. Now, something that is a little bit surprising to me is, having read, your first book, Gifted Hands, and understanding that you did come from a disadvantaged background, and then realising that you've worked in healthcare for many, many years. You care passionately about healthcare. But nevertheless, you've been stridently against recent reforms in the US to extend healthcare, to everyone, to make sure no one falls through the gaps. And I think you've called the Affordable Care Act the worst thing since slavery.
Correct.
How do you put that together?
Well, first of all, I don't just complain about it. I actually offer solutions. And the solution that I've offered would actually cover everybody. Obamacare still leaves about the same number of people uncovered, increases the prices dramatically, impacts upon the workforce so that people are afraid to hire people now because it costs them so much to hire someone. And this is not what we should have. We should have something that's in the hands of the people themselves. The most important thing you have is your health care. And when you turn that over to an uncaring bureaucrat, then you get the same kind of situation that we had recently with the VA hospitals, where the veterans are having a hard time getting care. They're dying, waiting for care. And I've worked in some VA hospitals. There are fine people there. But you have so many layers of bureaucracy between the patient and the healthcare provider that you essentially don't have care. And that's exactly what this kind of government-controlled healthcare would do. It was not well thought out. It was not planned appropriately. I told the planners in the process, I said, there are some parts of this that I agree with, and I think many others would agree with. Why don't we use those as the basis of healthcare reform? You'll have bipartisan agreement, and then you can build together something that works for everyone. I say, if you try to shove something like that down the throats of people when half the country vehemently disagrees with it, and you have unanimous disagreement from the other party, all you're going to do is create animosity. All you're going to do is create a situation where nothing gets done. And the person I was talking to, which was a president's senior advisor, said, you're probably right, but this is Washington, and this is politics. Well, that's the problem. When you take something as important as health care and you make it into a political football, you get exactly what we have. That's not working for anybody. So I like things that actually work. That's why I'm so vehemently against politically motivated things of this nature.
Okay. Well, I mean, a lot of people are throwing your name around as, a presidential candidate, the Run, Ben, Run campaign and all this sort of stuff. But, I mean, you're interested in, obviously, bipartisan support and things like that. Have you thought of another public role, perhaps, like, Surgeon General or something like that, that might more neatly fit with your history?
Certainly that's a role that's been offered to me for years and years. I don't feel any particular inclination to do anything, to be honest with you. I do not want to go into the public arena, into public office. However, sometimes we find ourselves in situations that are not of our choosing. And, I was planning on retiring last year. And still I find myself right in the middle of the whole political discussion. And as I look back over it all, I recognize that there's a power greater than myself involved in these things. And
a sense of manifest destiny, as it were.
Well, I have a role to play. I don't know what that role will be completely, but I know right now it involves pointing out the things that most people are afraid to point out. They're just afraid. And the reason I'm not afraid is because of Romans 8, which says, if God be for you, who can be against you? So you don't have to fear anybody. You fear no man. And, you know, the things that are going on affect everybody as far as I'm concerned. They're not Republican things or Democrat things or independent things. They're everybody.
Yeah.
And, you know, we should not be tolerating corruption. We should not be spending up the next generation's future. And we should not be imposing sham programs on people claiming that we're doing good.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you obviously you're a man of faith.
Yes.
You've been an active Seventh-day Adventist for many years. The interesting thing about that is that many Seventh-day Adventists traditionally haven't voted, have refused to carry arms in wars,
Sure.
Have been very strong on the issues of separation and church and state.
Sure.
And you appeared, well, some people seem to be pushing you in the direction of a Republican nomination. For a lot of people, the Republican Party stands for, you know, gun-loving, warmongering, you know, Bible-bashing people. Is that really a good fit for you, do you think?
Well, first of all, the way that Republicans are characterized and the way that Democrats are characterized by the media is inaccurate.
Mm.
And, you know, there are good people in both parties.
Mm.
And it's one of the reasons that I have a tendency to de-emphasize the D and the R.
Sure.
In fact, you know, in my latest book, One Nation, I've advocated that we remove the political designation from ballots so that people don't know whether this is a Republican or Democrat, and they actually have to know who they're voting for.
Sure.
I think that would make a big difference.
Okay. So you do you not see any conflict or difficulty being a Seventh-day Adventist and involved in public life, in possibly a position of power?
No, I don't. Because the thing that I focus on is where is God leading?
Sure.
What are the doors that He's opening?
Mm-hmm.
And I find myself right now in very much the same situation that I found myself in my medical career.
Mm-hmm.
All these amazing things just kept happening.
Yeah.
And this door would open, and this, it was just, I was like sitting there just watching it all and had this incredible career. If somebody had sat me down in front of a typewriter and said, I want you to type out the career you want to have, I couldn't have come up with a better scenario. And the same thing is happening now. And so what you have to do is just, you know, trust in the Lord with all your heart, lean not to your own understanding, and all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths.
Yeah.
No one can do it better than He does.
Yeah. So as a neurosurgeon, you would have been a very busy man there. I mean, some of those operations, you know, take several hours, call-outs in the middle of the night, you know, hard work.
Sure.
And now you're embarked on this sort of speaking around the place. I mean, you've just come from New Zealand, now you're in Australia, came from a big tour in the States.
Mm-hmm.
You've always been, and you still are, a very, very busy man. How do you, is that a challenge to your spiritual life?
No, not at all. You know, my wife travels with me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we start every day with prayer and Bible reading. We end every day with prayer and Bible reading. And there's prayer throughout the day. And, you know, you can take your spirituality with you wherever you go. It doesn't have to leave you. It's one of the reasons that, you know, when you see me on the news program on television, I don't talk about other people. I don't denigrate them. I don't get into the mud and do that. And I tend to focus on what the issue is. And a lot of times when I get attacked by the opposition, I'll simply say, now that you've completed your gratuitous attack, can we get back to the subject? Which makes them look like total fools, which they are.
Yeah. Boy. So, wow. So this, you know, Bible reading and prayer, like you say, do you find that gives you strength? Does it give you
without
perspective?
question. Without question. You know, the book of Proverbs is my favorite book, which of course was written by Solomon, the wisest man who ever lived. And this tells me that the good Lord has a sense of humor, because He had my parents give me the middle name Solomon, because He knew that I was going to end up with this great affinity for Solomon. But interestingly enough, when Solomon became the king of Israel, do you remember what made him very famous? 2 women came to him claiming to be the mother of the same baby.
That's right.
What did he advocate? Divide the babies. Well, that's when I became very well known, when I divided babies.
Oh, yes, of course, yeah, the Siamese
I think the Lord has a sense of humor.
Yeah, there you go, Solomon. Wow. Now, you have been doing motivational speaking for, what, 20 years or
20 plus.
20 plus years now. And obviously there are a lot of parents there, there are a lot of young people who really resonate with your story.
Sure.
What messages are you trying to give them? You know, perhaps, you know, there are people
Sure.
you know, watching this interview now who aren't able to get to a live event. So just give us a summary of what
Yeah.
you like parents and young people in particular take out of
Well,
your
the main
messages.
thing I want them to take out of it is that the person who has the most to do with what happens to you in life is you. It's not somebody else. It's not the environment. You're the one who gets to make the decisions. You're the one who decides how much energy you want to put behind those decisions. And it really doesn't matter where you start from. What matters is where you finish.
Right.
And you look at somebody like Joseph in the Bible, sold into slavery by his own brothers. Then he said, well, I'll be a great slave. And he ends up head of Potiphar's household. Winds up getting thrown in jail inappropriately. Says, may have been unfair, but I'm going to be a great prisoner. He ends up with a responsible position in prison. Ends up as the governor of Egypt. And you know, that's what I want people to understand. You know, you don't have to be a victim unless you choose to be a victim.
So personal responsibility is a real key point for you.
Which is the reason that God gave us these amazing brains. We're made in His image, and we're not made to be doormats.
Are there specifics coming from your story, such as, you know, your mother limited your television, she really emphasised education? Are these sort of themes and practical tips that you recommend?
I talk about how to empower yourself. And the best way to empower yourself is with knowledge. Knowledge is a formidable foe of falsehood and a formidable ally of truth. And the more you know, the much more difficult it is to manipulate you.
Yeah, true. Well, thank you so much for those insights, and thanks so much for being here with us. Let me shake those gifted hands.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It's been great.
Okay.
We'll be back straight after the break.
Every week, It Is Written is available to millions of free-to-air viewers throughout Australia, New Zealand, New Guinea and the Pacific. It Is Written's Gary Kent regularly takes viewers to the far corners of the globe to report on new evidence and discoveries that confirm the Bible and Christian beliefs. It Is Written also provides medical care to remote Pacific Island communities. Join Gary Kent each week for It Is Written. See television guides and the It Is Written website for broadcast times. It Is Written with Gary Kent. It really is television that changes lives.
Hi, welcome back. Now, if you missed part of today's interview with Dr. Ben Carson, or maybe you'd like to see it again,
or even if you'd like to share the video with a friend or download it for yourself.
yes, the interview is up on our website, record.net.au, as of course are all of today's program segments. So if you want to download one of our videos or share the exact link with a friend, you'll need to click on the Vimeo logo right down there in the corner of the screen to track the video back to our archive. It's pretty easy.
Well, thanks for your company this week. We'll see you next time on Record in Focus.
God bless.
I'd like to talk this evening about something that is very important. It is known as a slick, cunning disease. It often starts long before you know that you have it. In fact, maybe 3 years, maybe 5 years, maybe even 7 years before you know that you have cancer. Cancer is a big problem in our world today. In fact, it is known as a lifestyle disease, just like heart disease, hypertension, stroke, and all the other diseases that we have been talking about. And so it is important that we understand. Now, there's so much about cancer that we can talk about, but we're going to talk generally about cancer this evening, and I hope that you can be able to learn something out of the presentation today. Cancer is a leading cause of death worldwide. In 2008 alone, it killed approximately 7.6 million people. Just 2008. And the number is increasing. The common cancers that people die of today are lung cancer, stomach, liver, large intestine, and breast cancer. They're the common ones. They're the big ones, brothers and sisters. And about 40% of cancers and cancer deaths are due, as you can see on the screen, are caused by the 5 leading lifestyle issues. Number 1, overweight, obesity, low fruit and vegetable intake, lack of physical activity, tobacco use, and alcohol intake. 40% related to lifestyle diseases. And so it's so important that we know and understand this. To understand cancer, I'd like you to come with me on a very interesting journey. We're going to go into the body. Come with me. We're going to look at the very cells that make you. How many cells are we made of? I mentioned this twice already. How many cells? 100 trillion cells. Skin cells, brain cells, hair cells. We are about 100 trillion cells. Now, in the picture here, you see an example of a cell. A cell has a cell wall around it. It has a few structures that stay inside of it. I won't bother you with the names, not necessary. But right in the middle there is something very important. It is the brain of the cell. And we refer to that as the nucleus of the cell. Okay. Now, there's something more that you need to know. Inside the nucleus of the cell is a very important material called the DNA. Called the what? The DNA. What is the DNA? The DNA is that genetic material that is in the cell that controls the function of the cell. It controls how the cells will replicate or will divide or will multiply. The DNA controls all that. And so it's very important to know the DNA, the nucleus, the DNA, which is inside the nucleus. They call it a big name. Do you want to hear it? They call it the deoxyribonucleic acid. Now, that was a slip of the tongue. You don't need to remember that. And so we'll just call him DNA. Okay. Now, having known what is the cell, just very quickly, I've got only 30 minutes, we cannot talk too much about it. Let's come to something very important here. Come with me and let's see this one. Okay, I showed you one cell. These are many cells. You see here? All organized together, very neatly organized. Okay, they have their cells all lined up. This is a normal cell tissue. Cells, one cell, come together, more cells come together to form tissues of the body and then eventually form organs of the body. Okay, so one cell that I showed you, if there's 2 or 3 more, they all come together. If there's many more, they all come together of the same type. They form the liver, they form the brain, they form the spleen, they form all the different organs of the body. Do you understand what I'm saying? All right. Okay, so this is the normal arrangement of cells in an organ. You appreciate the fact that it is all very neat. See how God has made each one of us. We are just so fearfully and so wonderfully made. Now, come and see this. This is an operation. Okay? I told you that I'm a surgeon, so I do some operations. Now, inside there, I hope it's clear, you will see an organ. We call this organ the liver. It sits on the right side in the abdomen right here. It is smooth, it is brown, it is a normal liver. If you have problems with your liver, your eyes will go very yellow. There will be some pain, and when you go to the toilet, you pass urine, it will be very yellow. Okay, now, so this is a normal liver. It is smooth, it is normal. Now, look at this one, because this is very important. That liver that you just saw is made up of cells. And these are the cells, you see them? Very nicely knitted together. You understand what I'm saying? All right, so there's one cell with its nucleus. See the black one? That's the nucleus. And inside that black structure there, the nucleus is what? The DNA. You understand what I'm saying here? Okay, so this is the normal liver cell. This is true normal liver cells that make up the liver. All right, this is important for you to understand so that you can understand when we talk about cancer. Okay, now, liver gets damaged. It has to repair itself. So every now and then, the liver cell, let's take one liver cell, it has to divide. And this is how they divide. One cell becomes 2. The 2 cells become 4. The 4 cells become 8. The 8 cell becomes how many? And the how many cells become how many? And you know, that's how the cells divide, and they repair the damage in the liver. And then, when the damage has been fixed, the dividing of the cells stop. They don't divide anymore. You understand what I'm saying? That's an important point you need to understand. Now, let's come to something very interesting here. When you cut yourself, say in the hand, immediately the cell starts dividing in the hand. There's muscle cells, they start dividing. There's skin cells, they start dividing, and they divide to fill up that gap so that there is healing. All right, so now this wound is healing. You will see that the healing has taken place, but there's still a gap there. There needs to be more dividing of the cells, and so it keeps dividing until what happens? The whole cell is now fixed. The dividing has now filled up all that gap. And so, as in this man, he's got something in his head, he scratched it, and there's a little injury there. After about several weeks, do you see that wound? It has healed. And then the dividing stops. It doesn't go on dividing. The cells don't keep on multiplying. Something tells it, stop now, this is time to stop. And it stops. Amazing God that we serve. Come now, and let's just talk a little bit about cancer. Now, this is very important. Cancer begins in the cell when there is damage to the what? DNA. Within the cell, nucleus. Now you understand? Okay, come with me. In that nucleus, where the DNA is located, something happened sometime in the lifetime of that person, and now that DNA is not giving a good message, not giving the right messages to the rest of the cell, and so now we have some big problems. And so you can see in this picture here, the first picture is the normal cell. There's no problems there, everything okay. And then the next picture, you see some blue cells appearing. Something has done some damage to the nucleus. Something has done some damage to the DNA in this particular tissue. All right, and so it begins to grow. They're abnormal. They begin to multiply. But the thing about cancer cells, dear brothers and sisters, is there is no control. They just keep what? They just keep growing and growing and growing. And then the fourth little picture right at the end there, you can see that this cancer tissue has gone so big, something interesting now happens. It can spread to other parts of the body. Now, this is a big illustration. You can see the normal cells all lined up very clean, very neat, but you see the middle blue. They're all very, they're not in right alignment. They're all very rough looking. The nucleus looks very big. The cells are not normal. This is cancer cell developing in that organ or in that tissue right now, as you can appreciate. And what happens is the cancer cells, they invade, they destroy the normal cells as well. Oh, these are rascals, you know. These are rogue elements within the tissue. They have no control. They just keep on dividing and doing all the destructions that they can do. Now, there's something about cancer that you need to know. Number one, cancer cells, they break through the normal boundaries. As you can see there, now I'm going to turn around. See, this is the normal boundary. The cancer cells are now beyond the normal boundary. This is the normal boundary down here. Cancer cells are now gone beyond the boundary. And then something else is happening here. This little rascal now, he thinks that he's smart. He's broken away from the rest of the cancer, and he's gone into the blood. And where does it go? It can lodge anywhere in the body. That's why when you hear people say, oh, you know, this man has bowel cancer, and now he has it in the liver, that's because the cancer from the bowel has spread in the blood, has gone to the liver. That's what we call metastasis, spreading of cancer cells. This is important. Now, this is a picture of bowel cancer spreading to the liver as metastasis. Okay, now, this is important to know. Let's keep going. Time is running out for me. Some characteristics of cancer cells. Number one, cancer cells, they don't stop what? They don't stop growing. Cancer cells don't obey what? Important signals that God has put. Number three, cancer cells don't stick together, so they quickly spread to other parts of the body. All right. Now, what we're talking about is the bad cancers, you know, and there's so much bad cancers around. Okay, and so it is just so important that we understand this. Now, when you talk about cancer, you always talk about risk factors. What are the things that can lead to the development of cancer? And so a risk factor is anything that increases the chances of cell injury, in particular the nucleus and the DNA which is in the nucleus. This means that anything, you know, it could be anything. So let's take a look at some of these things. I think this is very important to understand and to know. Number one, growing older. Oh, I wish that we don't grow old. I wish I could remain like this, or even maybe reverse my life backwards. Go back to when I was young, but no, it can't happen that way. As you grow older, as we age, the chances of developing cancer becomes bigger. And the reason is because there can be cell damage that happens as we grow older. All right. Now, If you've lived a good life, if you've lived a healthy life, the chances will be low. But if you haven't been looking after yourself too well, the chances can be quite high. And so growing older is a risk factor for developing cancer. Number 2, what is this one? Tobacco, cigarette smoking increases the risk of men developing lung cancer approximately 23 times. And in the woman, by about 13 times. And so cigarette smoking, dear brothers and sisters, is not a very good thing for you and for your health, for the body. Now, can I just share with you, now, I think the writings are too small, but let me share with you. There's about 11 major cancers that cigarette smoking causes. I'll just run through very quickly. Lung cancer, cancer of the mouth, cancer of the throat, cancer of the voice box, cancer of the esophagus. There's this big pipe that connects the mouth to the stomach. Cancer of the stomach, kidney cancer, bladder cancer, cancer of the pancreas, cancer of the blood, cancer of the cervix. How many more do you want? Terrible cancers. Cigarette smoking is a risk factor for 11 major cancers in the human body. So important to know and to understand this. Now you look at this picture, because this is very important. This is a lung of a real person that was taken out and a picture has been taken of. You will notice, you will appreciate that it looks very dark, it looks very black because of tar and all the smoke that has been going in there. But look at here, look at this little section here. You see this white tissue here, right here. This is cancer of the lung if you've never seen one before. Okay, cigarette smoking is a major risk factor for lung cancer. Now in the x-ray, this is what it would look like. The black is good because there's air inside the lungs. But you see here, there's no blackness up here. This is all white. And it simply means that this is all filled up with cancer in the lung because of cigarette smoking. Oh, dear brothers and sisters, it is not a good thing. Cigarette smoking can cause cancer of the throat, and the throat can ulcerate, and the cancer can come out of the skin, through the skin, and it'll build up in the neck like this. I have seen so many people with cancers of the throat present to me in this manner. You will see why I'm so passionate talking about this thing. A lot of people die because of cigarette smoking. This is no joke, oh dear brothers and sisters. So important that we need to understand this. Alcohol, number 2, is a major risk factor for cancers. And I'd like you to take heed of this counsel, because I think this is just so important. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 different cancers. Cancer of the oral cavity, cancer of the throat, cancer of the voice box, cancer of the esophagus, liver cancer, cancer of the large intestines, cancer of the rectum, breast cancer. Ladies, listen to this one. Cancer of the pancreas, cigarette smoking, alcohol, both major causes of cancer in the human body. I don't know how else I will say this, dear people, but I think this is just so important that we take note of these things. So important. Now I showed you that this is a normal liver. Look at what alcohol does to the liver. You see this liver? It looks very rough. It is very irregular. This is cancer of the liver as a result of alcohol intake. And so it is true. It is no joke that both cigarette smoking and alcohol causes cancer. Many different cancers inside the body. Now, I've just got a slide here. This is a study that was published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition on the relationship between alcohol intake and breast cancer. You will note here, just with one drink, ladies, your risk of developing cancer of the breast increases by 20%. And if you take 2 drinks or 3 drinks plus, it goes up to about 37%. Now, if you're a lady who is a little bit low on folic acid, you know, when mothers get pregnant, we give them iron and we give them folic acid. to help the baby and to help their blood. If a lady who's drinking alcohol and has low folate, what happens is the risk of cancer of the breast is 2 times more in that lady. And so there is a significant relationship between alcohol intake and breast cancer. And so this is important. This is very important. We don't have time to go through all the rest of the story. Now, in my country, we love chewing betel nut. But when you chew betel nut, you see, when we chew betel nut, we always like smoking as well, you know. And when we smoke, you know, there's always this appetite for taking a little bit of alcohol as well. You know, they all go together, eh? They're kind of brothers and sisters, you know, yeah? And so you will see here, this is cancer of the tongue. This cancer has totally invaded the whole tongue. He can't talk. He can't swallow. So you say to me, Dr. Kumar, why didn't you operate this man? Okay, I take his tongue out. How will he eat? How will he swallow? There's nothing you can do. There's nothing, absolutely nothing that you can do. Chemicals and substances like asbestos that we know about can cause cancer of the lung and other parts of the body. We know that. But viruses also can cause cancer. And so, before I go there, too much sun, okay, can cause radiation from the rays of the sun, can cause cancer. It's very common with the Caucasian population. In Australia, this is a big problem. And so when you go swimming, you know, at least have some clothing on, along the beach or something like that. Keep the radiation, the sun, a little bit away from the skin. But come and see this one. Viruses can also cause cancer. This is HIV/AIDS. And you will note here, this is cancer of the just beside the mouth. This is this is a cancer that has come up in this lady who has HIV/AIDS because of the drop in the body immunity. Okay, we call this a special name, Kaposi sarcoma. This is a very bad cancer that happens in people with HIV/AIDS because of their drop in the body immunity. But look at this one. This is a big problem in the Pacific. We talk about cervical cancer. My friend just shared with me a lady from Samoa who's suffering from that problem. Viruses, this is a form of virus cancer. Human papillomavirus. I'm sure a lot of you ladies know about this one. I'm sure there is opportunity for you to be able to do pap smears here in Samoa, in Apia. If you've never done any pap smears before, ladies, go and have a pap smear done because it's so important. Cervical cancer, I think, when you look at statistics, is the number 1 in the Pacific. Next comes breast cancer. A lot of ladies in the Pacific die from cervical cancer, and it's silent. Usually it starts small, as I've said, and then later on, when it comes big, oftentimes it is too late for the mother, and even treatment cannot be able to cure the problem. And so it's just so important. Now, I hope you have remembered all the risk factors that I've talked about. Now, let's come. Family history of cancer. If there's a family history of cancer, yes, you may be able to develop cancer as well. And so it's so important to know that. Okay? And then high fat and sugar diets. This is very important. These foods, I didn't go in detail about these things when I talked about heart attack and stroke and hypertension. But when you eat too much of these things, what happens is the high fat and the high sugars cause an inflammation. They cause destruction of the cell wall. And then they can also have an impact on the cell nucleus. And they can lead not only to heart attack, to high blood pressure, and to stroke, but they can also lead to cancer. 40% of cancers in the world is lifestyle disease related. And so it's so important to understand that. Another very important risk factor is overweight, obesity. Now, we're talking serious now. Look at this one, because I think this will interest you. It is very, very clear now that obesity can give rise to how many cancers? Cancer of the esophagus, cancer of the pancreas, of the large intestine and rectum, breast cancer, cancer of the uterus in the female, kidney cancer, thyroid cancer, and gallbladder cancer. Wow, we have some problems. We have some big problems, folks. It is time that we make changes in our lives. Now you look at this picture. This is cancer developing in the bowel. Okay, when you look up here, this is when it starts. Oh, this is when it starts. It may be 10 years ago. Slow, sleek, huh? And then it grows big. Maybe 3 years later, and then it comes here. This may be like 2 years ago, and then not long after that, it becomes so big. Now the man goes to the toilet and he passes blood in the toilet when he wants to evacuate his bowels. It is slow. But you know, fats especially are dangerous risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Highly refined foods also can become very big risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Corned beef and sausage are big risk factors for cancer of the bowel. Are you listening to me? I think you've gone to sleep. Corned beef and sausage are huge risk factors for cancer of the bowel, dear brothers and sisters. This is so important. Let's understand this. Meat and cancer. Now we're talking. There's a huge relationship between meat consumption and cancer. Look at this one. Red meat and processed meats increases the risk of high cholesterol, heart disease and stroke, diabetes, many cancers, Alzheimer's disease, and total mortality from all causes. All right, and so here we have some very important information for you. Look at this slide. This is from the archives of internal medicine. As you increase your meat intake, look at the increases in death rate. As you increase, death rate increases as well. As you increase your meat intake, death rate increases as well. And so these are some important risk factors. Lack of physical activity. Physical activity protects you from cancer big time, brothers and sisters. Boy, look at this man's tummy. You can put a bucket on top there and he won't feel it, you know. I mean, he's doing very well by the looks of it. All right, now come, Samoa. I want you to see this one. I want you to see this one. Almost 70% of Samoan ladies never do any physical activity. All right, Samoa, you are right there. Almost 70%. Almost half of men in Samoa never do any physical activity. This is 2005, 2008 statistics from the World Health Organization. We have some problems here. You want to prevent getting cancer, it is important that you understand this. Fruits and vegetables protect us from cancer. You look at the colors, all the different colors, they protect you. They protect you. They stabilize the cell walls, and they protect you from developing cancer. They protect the DNA. They protect the nucleus. So important. All right. Now, let's look at fruits and vegetables here. There's no Samoa here, but I think you're not very different from your cousins, the American Samoans, eh? Different? Hey, different? Okay, but I think the food is the same. Okay, you look here. Kiribati, almost 100% of people there don't even eat fruits and vegetables. See this? Almost 100%. All right, and you come down there, you see every countries in the Pacific, we have a big problem with our intake of fruits and vegetables. We're eating too much processed foods. This is evidence that we have a problem in the South Pacific. Oh, brothers and sisters, this is just so important. Now, as I come to the end now, how do you reduce the risk of cancer? There is no magic soup or syrup, drink or tablet that can protect the human race from cancer. There is nothing like that, unfortunately. I wish I could give you one, but I don't have it. Now, I think it is just so important, dear people, that we follow the principles of health given to us by God with so much love and grace. Avoid smoking, please. Avoid alcohol. Maintain a normal weight, please. Eat more plant-based diet. Limit your meat consumption. Avoid processed meats. Limit sugar and fat consumption. And please be active. Can you join me tomorrow morning? We need to walk up to the towers up on the hill. I did that this morning and it was good. Come with me tomorrow. Oh, is it up there again or somewhere else? Andrew would know that. But we need to be active. We need to be walking. We need to be doing things, so that we can be able to stay healthy and strong and protect us from developing problems and sicknesses like cancer. Cancer is like sin. Sin starts small, but it is slick, it is sly, it moves and it destroys. Very similar. So if you're frightened of cancer, if you know that you have some risk factors with you, ask God to help you so that you can do right things, so that He can help you do the right things so that you can avoid getting these problems. And with the sin problem, ask God as well, because He can help you. And so that we can live healthy and strong, be happy, and live long for the honor and glory of our great God and Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you for listening this evening. God bless each one of you tonight.